15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Is that Shakespeare?
Nope, it's Geico.
Yeah, that's Shakespeare from one of his unpublished works. Oh, it be not for awakening. Nay, giveth thou the berries. For 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
No, it's from Geico, because they help save people money.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Geico got it from Shakespeare.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
I see great things in baseball. It's our game, the American game. It will take our people out of doors, fill them with oxygen, give them a larger physical stoicism, tend to relieve us from being a nervous, dyspeptic set, repair these losses, and be a blessing to us. Walt Whitman.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the ground.
Good morning. Neighborhood play here on the Armchair Quarterbacks with Joey and Christian. Christian is trying to make it. We'll see if he makes it today. He had an emergency. But regardless, we're going to try to carry the load here, Joey and I, as we're going to talk about the Cubs and White Sox. Cubs got a huge win last night. Joey, were you able to watch?
Yeah, I was able to watch a good amount of the game. I mean, the Cubs bats after the first few innings just became on fire. It was nice to see Jock Peterson get a homer, a double by Rizzo and Bryant to get some runs in. It's always good to beat up on the Cardinals. I got a smile on my face this morning because I did not expect that to be the case.
Yeah, that was a really good look. The Cardinals pen just kind of imploded, and then today the Cardinals welcome back Mikolas, who has not pitched this year. And so I think it's an opportunity for the Cubs to maybe sneak another W away from a team that St. Louis, it looked like they were going to start running away from the division, and now they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot here recently.
Yeah, and only being 2 games back now, it's going to be very interesting to see. I can't say what I call Ricketts off the air, on the air, what I call him off the air, but he's been tight with his pennies to say the least lately. So I'm interested to see how that's going to work. But hey, if we keep playing good baseball like this and we come out tied with the Cardinals after this weekend, you can't just sell everything at the deadline. But anyways, that's a long time away. I'm just happy to see some good baseball being played lately by the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, amen to that. Great night of baseball. Man, there was a lot of runs scored last night in several different games. My fantasy baseball team went bonkers, by the way. So
really,
I was in a dog fight with a guy in our dynasty league that I forgot to start my entire rotation on Wednesday because I made a trade and it knocked every guy out, and so that made me mad as hell. Right? I was like, "Are you serious?" One trade knocked all my players out for that day. It was like a that day trade. A lot of times when you make the trade, it affects your next day's lineup. It knocked everyone out of my starting lineup. Even still, I was like, I think I'm going to win, but I'm not sure. Last night, they went bonkers. I mean, absolutely bonkers. You name a guy that went off last night, he was probably in my lineup. And now I'm pretty much on cruise control. Austin Riley, who went nuts. Acuna. Jesse Winker that hit the 3 home runs for the Reds last night. He's in my lineup. Simeon. I mean, it was unbelievable. It's funny. I kind of shattered a lot of records in a daily record for what we do in that league. And that's with Freddie Freeman, Jose Altuve, and Jose Ramirez not doing a damn thing. And my catcher wasn't even starting. And I still had guys just go bananas. I think I had 7 or 8 home runs just between like a handful of guys. So,
it must be an offensive
I had
week.
10 home runs. Holy
oh
crap.
my goodness.
I had 10 home runs between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 different guys.
Woo.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. He pretty much. I woke up to a text this morning. So you're a son of a bitch. I'm like, bye, baby. You gone.
He gone.
So today, Cubs and White Sox. Let's start with the White Sox. They're playing the Yankees. Garrett Cole. They got beat last night on a walk-off. Really tough game to lose. A game that, where is it? I wrote that stat down. I want to make sure I have it somewhere.
Well, while you're looking for that, there was even a triple play in that game last night.
Right. There was also, you know what? I'm gonna have to find it on something else. Give me 1 second. There was a stat in that game, Yankees White Sox, that had not happened in over 100 years, and it was pretty remarkable that when I saw it flash up, I think it was Twitter that I found it. When I found it, I was like, "Holy crap! I cannot believe this."
Oh, I'm intrigued.
I almost want to say I retweeted it, but so I'm gonna just see if I can find it there. Crap.
Well, I mean, in the meantime, while you're even looking for that, you brought up the pitching matchup today. I actually have had Dylan Cease for a couple of starts now in fantasy. His ERA is below 2.5, and he's been pitching pretty well. But when you go up against Garrett Cole, that's not going to ever be an easy matchup. So after the close game, the Sox took in a loss yesterday. Of course, they don't want to lose the series after today. So I think it's going to be a really good baseball game in New York Yankee Stadium today. Especially when you got, I mean, Dylan Cease, Carlos Rodon. These are names that, you know, they were hot names early, but especially Rodon, struggled a decent amount to start his career. But you're seeing these young Sox pitchers come into their own, and it's a huge test in this hitter-friendly ballpark in New York.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Cole is going to be an absolute. We know the guy's just really hard to hit. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get into the bullpen quicker than normal is basically what you need to do, because they're a little worn out. The Yankees have used quite a bit of their bullpen earlier in the week. So I think they're hoping that Cole can go, I'm not saying the distance, but I think they're looking for Cole to go at least, 7-8 innings, something like that. I will find that stat by the end of the show, because I'm going to keep scrolling until I find it. It was a phenomenal stat it's one of those stats that you're like, really? And then you're like, man, that's pretty cool. Here's where I found it from. So I found the page that I found it off, and I'll be able to scroll here in a second. But anyways, moving on from that, La Russa not having Mercedes back, I would have loved to get Christian's take on this. I just think it was a terrible look for La Russa. What say you?
Oh, it definitely was. I almost felt at times he took this Twins backing more than his own White Sox clubhouse. I mean, we already had issues going into this season between Tim Anderson, and La Russa talking, but getting to this point now where we talked about it a little bit Thursday, but we're talking more in depth now. Mercedes is a guy who's been in the major leagues for years and years. He's finally having coming into his own, hitting bombs left and right, still having a great batting average. And, he swung at a 3-0 pitch. Now, the one caveat I will say, I'm actually more, if anybody should be upset with him, it's because he didn't listen to the sign to take. Now, swinging on 3-0, though, I never have an issue with. If you see your pitch and you hit a home run, this guy's playing for a new contract. So for Tony La Russa not to back him, and then especially after...
Evidently, he told him not to swing 3-0, and I guess they're talking about from the signs from the dugout. I don't think he had an actual conversation with them right before. What are you doing shooting signs in a game like that? I mean, is the batter even paying attention to that?
Well, and if it's coming from the dugout, like what? Like, this guy's trying to make his money. He's playing good baseball this year. You're playing a rival. Who the hell cares? I wish he would have hit it 10,000 feet.
The bottom line, I talked about this earlier in the week on our weekly show. If the team, being Minnesota, had that big a damn problem with them scoring more runs on them, you can't defend that when you put a designated hitter out there to throw the ball.
No.
If it's that big a deal, you bring a real pitcher out of your bullpen. Other than that, it's garbage. Now, like last night, the Braves were beating the hell out of Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh put a position player in, and he gave up like 8 runs. I did notice this: the Braves were not hustling from base to base; they were going station to station. They probably could have put up a few more runs. They ended up winning the game 20-1. Yeah, but granted, 8 runs.
I know.
8 runs that we scored were in the bottom half of the 8th with the I think he's an infielder that was out there throwing the ball, and there were a couple home runs and whatnot. But I will say this: they were going station to station. They weren't. The one thing was Snicker, the manager of the Braves, stopped Acuna. He wouldn't let him do it. Acuna grabbed a left-handed batting helmet, and he was going to go up there and bat against the guy left-handed, and he stopped him. They just randomly had the camera in the dugout right before it happens, and they kept it there when you kept seeing him go, hey, come back. And so when Acuna came back, he was kind of laughing. He said, no, we're not doing that, because he was basically saying, we're going to respect the game kind of thing. I would have liked to have seen it as a fan. It would have been.
I was going to say, don't you think that's what we kind of
needed? Only issue would have been as a Braves fan and as a fantasy owner of Acuna. What all of a sudden if he thinks he's going to start being a freaking switch hitter, and that because I'm telling you right now, Ozzie Albies, it shouldn't be a switch hitter. He's trash from the left side of the plate, and he's one of the better right-handed hitters in baseball. But the problem is, how often do you face a lefty, right? And so, anyways, the point of that was he stopped him. So I guess La Russa might have been miffed by the fact that he felt like that Mercedes ignored him. Regardless, man, you keep that in-house, man. You do not call out your own teammate or your own player. And that's just the way I feel about it. He should have kept that in-house. He probably didn't mean it to come out the way he did. But after he did, he's not going to, knowing La Russa and his personality, he's not going to all of a sudden, curtsy and bow out of the room. So,
well, I mean, and just to put a bow on that, it's like your team's in first place. You have the best record in the American League. Don't air out your dirty laundry when you don't have much of it to begin with. You're playing good ball. Keep the good mojo going.
There's that, and I'll tell you what. There's something else too. I still think the only reason why this was a big deal was because of the fact that it's La Russa and ESPN has an axe to grind with him, because he's the old guy and ESPN has just been attacking him for his age ever since the White Sox hired him. And remember, they hired him in the middle of all the rioting last summer, and I don't know who they had in mind that they thought should be coaching the White Sox, but they didn't like the fact that it was old man La Russa, right? And so ever since he was hired, they have had an axe to grind with him, and I don't think it's fair. The guy's a legend. He's in the Hall of Fame. Should he have came back? I don't know. Hell, I don't know I don't know him. I don't know he might be one of these types of people that if he's not being challenged, he might just, fade off and, be lesser than if he's being challenged every day. And that's why he got back into baseball. By the way, I found the stat. Carlos Rodon, who pitched last night for the White Sox, obviously phenomenal game. It was a shame to see the White Sox game wasted. 13 Ks, no walks. Jordan Montgomery, which is not in his this is not typical Jordan Montgomery work for people who don't follow the Yankees. 11 Ks, no walks. He's not a strikeout pitcher.
Mm-mm.
The White Sox and Yankees, the 6th game since 1901, where both starters had more than 10 strikeouts and no walks.
Holy crap.
I thought it was the first time, but it was the 6th time. So I misread that last night. And evidently this happened one other time this year. So there's been 2 this year. That was Corbin Burns of Milwaukee versus Jose Barrios of Minnesota. But still, it's only happened 6 times since 1901. I'll say one of the reasons why that is because you didn't used to strike out the way they do now. The guy
just look at the no hitters. It's insane.
Yeah. The launch angle junk. It's the pitchers have outsmarted them again, and they're ahead of it. Now they're wanting to lower the mound and have them throw a football field behind, so you have a chance to hit it on the next thing. We're going to be playing cricket the way ESPN wants to change everything.
Oh,
Can we
geez.
make it easier? Baseball's too hard. It's supposed to be hard. The hard is what makes it a great sport.
You're set up to fail 7 times out of 10 and still hit 300. It's one of the hardest things.
You know what's not hard? The WNBA. That's why nobody watches it. In baseball, it's supposed to be hard.
Amen to that.
Moving on from that, Giolito is hot. I don't know. We won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but I don't know if I quite believe in him yet. And there was a question I was going to throw at Christian, and we'll probably wait for him to be back next week in the Playing Pepper segment. But I don't know if he is. I mean, right now you got to say Rodon is the number one on that team, right? I mean, without a doubt. Going into the season, it was Giolito, because you're going off of what his past performances and his upside.
No doubt on that. I mean, you look at
one good game, so I don't know if he's hot.
Well, yeah, and it was just obviously in his last start he did go 8 innings, 11 Ks. But then again,
but that was one game against a terrible Minnesota team.
Exactly, that's what
I'm looking at his stats. For someone to be called hot, and I wish Christian was here. His last outing before that, 6 innings, 5 earned runs against the Royals. I don't know if that's hot. Now it was sandwiched between Kansas City and Cleveland, going out there 5 innings and a run apiece. That's not that. Kansas City and Cleveland don't have the best offenses in baseball. Those are good outings. I don't know if those are great outings. So I don't know if he's hot when one of your last 4 starts, you gave up 5 earned runs. And right before that, Detroit and Boston scorched him. So I feel like he's got to get his act together. Is more. You're Lucas Giolito. You shouldn't have a 4.35 ERA at this point in the season.
No, you should not. And that just goes to show. I mean, look at what the White Sox have done. And I know Christian would have talked about this. It's, they're playing the Yankees right now. They're without 2 of their great hitters. Giolito's ERA is above 4, but it's these young guys who are doing it. Dylan Cease, Carlos Rodon have phenomenal numbers this year, and it's really carrying a staff that has Lance Lynn, but he's been injured. Giolito,
I would have liked to have seen what he would do in Yankee Stadium. That would be a great litmus test for Giolito.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you want to talk about going against the best, I know we'll talk about a little bit. We could see this as potential ALCS matchup. You want your best to go against the best at all times, and if Giolito came off a good start, boy, would it have been fun today or tomorrow to see him on the mound against this lineup.
Moving on from that, I'll tell you what, though, his next start is against the Cardinals in Chicago next week. That would be a good litmus test. What does he do against the Cardinals? Because the Cardinals don't have the greatest offense, but they're solid. And if he goes out and dominates them, then you start building some momentum.
I'll actually be at that game too.
Oh, will you?
Yep, Gant versus will be Gant versus Giolito Tuesday night.
Nice. Yep. And then the Garrett Cole versus the Yankees today. We already kind of touched on that. This is just a big game in general for the White Sox. Is this a preview of the ALCS? I've got to see more from honestly both teams before I would start hanging my hat on that. The Yankees, they've gotten hot recently, but a lot of their wins have been going up. A lot of the Yankee wins have came from the usual suspects, like the Baltimore Orioles, that they seem to just, beat the living daylights out of every year. I've got to see the Yankees be the Yankees. First of all, if the Yankees are supposed to be the AL team to beat, they've got to win a series at home against the White Sox. So there's just much pressure on the Yankees as it is the White Sox. The White Sox have a little breathing room. They're 2.5 games in front of Cleveland. After that, Kansas City's still hanging around. I'm telling you right now, put a fork in Minnesota. They're done. They are absolutely done. 10.5 games out.
Whew.
And they are not playing good baseball. Let's switch over to the Cubs.
Yep.
They had a good series with the Nats. They're right back in the thick of things, where a couple of weeks ago it looked bleak. But I think the biggest key is Milwaukee has forgotten how to win a baseball game. They're 3-7 out of their last 10. Cincinnati is they're just kind of laying around there.
Mm-hmm.
And then St. Louis has played 500 baseball, allowing the Cubs to inch closer. This could be a Cubs Cardinals summer. I think Chicago's got to get more out of their pitching staff.
Oh, by far.
But you got to love what Ian Happ's doing right now.
Oh man, and so and if you look at on the surface, he's only hitting 225, but in his last 27 at bats, he has 11 hits. Quite a few of those are for extra bases, and he just brings depth to that lineup. I hate to say it like this. I'm not too worried that Jason Hayward's on the IL right now. It's given guys like Ian Happ, Horner, David Bodie, even though he's been struggling a little bit. This lineup is filling out more. Jock Peterson's a little hot. So Ian Happ, having him stabilize behind those Bryant's, Rizzo's, Contreras, it's really worked out well these last few days. And our offense has been really good all year. In fact, I saw a statistic that the Cubs and White Sox, I think since like May 2nd, have had the most runs in the MLB. So it's really more about the pitching that needs to come back. And that's been a concern because, you let a guy go like you, Darvish, and John Lester, who's not pitching well, obviously, but your rotation with Trevor Williams and Zach Davies as fillers has not been pretty. But the offense and Ian Happ, 2 thumbs up.
Tonight, the Cubs are at the Cardinals. It's the Fox game of the week, by the way. It's 7:15 Eastern, so 6:15 Central, first pitch. And it's Mikolas, as we talked about a second ago, and Alzolay. And Alzolay's been solid. I think Chicago's got a puncher's chance in this game because Mikolas, it's his first start of the year. I don't know if that guy goes 5 innings, right? Normally, your first start of the year, you're trying to get the rust off. And if the Cubs play it smart and work the count, I think they can get into the Cardinal bullpen pretty quickly. You want to win tonight's game because Sunday night game, which I believe is the ESPN game of the week, it's not being displayed on the scoreboard that I'm looking at, but I'm pretty sure it is.
It is. You're correct.
That game it's actually going to be a little earlier than normal. It's 7:08 Eastern, so 6:08 Central. Usually they go around a quarter after on Sunday night, but it's Wainwright versus Davies. And I think the Cardinals have the advantage with Wainwright on the mound. Wainwright has been nasty. Now he's gotten banged around a few times, but Wainwright Sunday night game versus the Cubs in St. Louis. I have a vision of Wainwright going like a quality start, 6-7 innings, maybe 1 or 2 runs. That's going to be hard for Davies to duplicate.
Oh, no doubt. And I'm not a big Zach Davies guy. I call him the mush ball pitcher. He just throws that 75, 80 mile per hour right in there. And I have not been impressed. And Wainwright, actually, I mean, I know he's older and everything, but I've had a couple spot starts in fantasy this year where he's gone 9 innings. He's just a homer who always seems to not lose it completely. And like you said, I don't see the Cardinals going down on Sunday Night Baseball. So take it tonight. So at least at the minimum, you took the series 2 out of 3.
Yeah, and I really think that the key is going to be work that bullpen, get into that Cardinal bullpen, because if you can get into that Cardinal bullpen, you can definitely, as long as you don't run into Reyes on the back end, there are arms that can be got. And the more you get into it, because they obviously had to dump their bullpen out last night, come Sunday night, heck, you might have an opportunity to take that game, because what if Wainwright is off and they have to go to their bullpen again? There's going to come a point where they're going to have to wave the white flag and say, we hate getting swept by the Cubs at home, but we also don't want to trash our entire bullpen for the next week. Speaking of next week, they're at the Pirates and home against the Reds. Next week would be, if for using a golfing term, since it's PGA Championship weekend, that's moving day.
Yeah.
You get 6 games where you could very easily go 5-1, 4-2. And we already said that the White Sox are going to be hosting the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals later next weekend, they will be playing, I had it here a second, give me 1 second. The St. Louis Cardinals will be playing at the Diamondbacks, which is never an easy place to win because of the way that stadium is constructed. So the Cubs could find themselves, by the time we meet up next Saturday, they could be sitting in first place.
Which I know I keep going back to, it would put this organization in a real, like, what's going on type of moment. Because I truly don't believe they expected to be doing this right now. And obviously the NL Central is not the best division in baseball. I know we're just a couple games over 500 here, but if you're in first place going into next weekend or after next weekend, how could, I'm very interested to see where this goes. The Chicago Cubs team has been battle tested, and like we said, they could use another arm. I don't know if they end up doing that down the line, but when you got the Pirates and the Reds coming up and the Cardinals got to go to the White Sox, a lot could change quickly.
I mean, look, it may not be the best division in baseball, but there's only one division I'm actually impressed with in baseball, and that's the NL West. The Padres, Dodgers, and Giants are all about 10 games above 500. That's the only division that I can say, okay, well, that's a hell of a division. The rest of them, the NL East is garbage. I mean, 21-17 looks like an insurmountable lead over Philadelphia and Atlanta right now because they can't get it together. You look at the AL East, they're starting to make some noise. So I'll say the AL East is up there with them. Now that I'm looking at their record, the AL East is pretty strong. If you take Baltimore out of the equation, all four of those teams are in or have winning records. But look, over the long haul, I still think it's going to be Cardinals and Cubs in this division. Milwaukee's got some chances to be in there, but they're not scoring runs. And I just think over an entire summer, the Cubs and Cardinals are going to run away and hide. The Reds are what I thought they would be, overhyped. You cannot lose what they lost in the offseason in Trevor Bauer and expect to be able to fill that in. So I don't know. It's let's go ahead and play a little pepper before we have to get out of here. We got a little condensed show today. Normally it's going to be 11 a.m. Eastern live on YouTube, and we will be also putting the rerun up right back after that. So let me get ahead and get into a little. We're going to get a better soundbite too for the playing pepper. It's just I couldn't find what I was looking for this week, so we'll just use this one. All right. I was expecting to have Christian here with us, so I'm going to hold off a couple of these questions. I'm going to gear the ones towards you.
Let's do it.
Wilson Contreras. You got to be a fan of him, right?
Absolutely.
If I gave you the opportunity right now, would you trade Wilson Contreras for JT Realmuto?
I'm a homer. I'm gonna have to say no. I love Wilson Contreras too much. I know Real Muto, is a phenomenal catcher, but I'm gonna keep Wilson Contreras. I always just like what he's doing. He brings that passion and energy. I think he's the heart and soul of this Cubs dugout sometimes. And without him, I feel like a lot more could fall apart. So I'm gonna have to say no. I'm gonna stick with Wilson Contreras.
All right. Here comes another one. Mike Trout's injured again, right? He's also on a team that, for all intents and purposes, doesn't look like they're going anywhere this year. Will Mike Trout win a World Series in an Angels uniform?
Absolutely not, and I will say why. Going back to my childhood, I can barely remember Angels pitchers who have just always stood out. Sure, we can name a couple along the way, like John Lackey way back when and stuff like that, but they always add hitters that are over the hill. Example was Albert Pujols. Now the guy they got from the Nationals, I'm blanking a little bit.
Rendon.
I feel like they give away all these big contracts to hitters, but they never fulfill the starting pitching. And what it comes down to in the playoffs, you have to have 2 or 3 arms you can rely on. And yes, Ohtani, I know he's fun and exciting, but you can't rely on him always, all the time either with his injury. So I don't think Trout wins a World Series at all in an Angels uniform.
Okay, similar question. National League style. Will Jacob deGrom win a World Series in a Mets uniform?
I'm going to have to go no again there. I just think, now here's the thing about the National League, though. I mean, I know the NL West is loaded, but the Mets do obviously have a chance to, get a couple of home series in the playoffs to start things if they could win the division, and then take on the NL West. Now, their pitching could if deGrom's on his game, they don't need a lot more outside of that. But I don't know. There's something about the New York Mets organization that I can't see them taking home the pennant. I just can't. I don't see it. So I'm going to say Angels and Mets, no goes.
And then the final one I'll throw at you. Let's say the Cubs fade a little bit and the White Sox continue to play well. Could you see a scenario where the Cubs would make a major trade to the White Sox to help them out? Or is that just no dice?
So funny you say that. I was talking to a buddy the other day, and we talked about the Jose Quintana trade where we sent Eloy over to the White Sox, and we got and Cease and Dylan Cease, and we got
How'd
Jose.
that work out for you?
Oh my God! So, and a lot of people are like, "Holy crap! The Cubs and Sox are making a trade." I mean, it's only happened a few times over all these years. So I would have to say after that trade, hard no, unless the Sox are just going to give up stupid value. Let's say for a Kimbrel or I don't know, let's say a starting pitcher gets hot, or another bat goes down and they want Rizzo to hit it. But unless they give us the world, I don't think we're going to make that mistake twice.
Do you like the little piggy bank here of the it's supposed to be Harry Carey.
I was going to say, is that Harry Carey piggy bank going on?
Yeah, that's Harry Carey. And then this is my favorite baseball cap in all of baseball is the old school. Well, I call it old school, but it was the 80s version of the White Sox. I really wish that they would go back to that. I don't like their I call it the Dr. Dre White Sox hats where they changed overnight and they were like trying to be like the Raiders. This right here reminds me of Greg Ludzinski, and he was one of my favorite players as a kid growing up, the Bull. I really wish that they would go back to that. It's hard for me to pull for the White Sox when I see those terrible uniforms. They're just drab and depressing, like the Brooklyn Nets floor. That's what the White Sox remind me of. The Brooklyn Nets floor is what the White Sox jersey, because I've been to the White Sox stadium. For those of y'all that aren't familiar, I lived in Chicago for a very, very brief time. I've been to the White Sox stadium. I've been to the Cubs stadium. To a man, the White Sox stadium is a better stadium, but the atmosphere at the Cubs stadium is much better, right? I really enjoyed my time at the White Sox stadium. It's just the whole time I looked around, I was like, man, can they change the color scheme? It's so just depressing, like just this gray. It's just like, ugh. All right. Anyways, what is your walk off for the day, sir?
My walk-off for today is we got the NBA playoffs. I know we're a baseball show here, but we got a full slate of NHL and NBA playoffs. You have Cubs, Cardinals going at it. You have White Sox, Yankees going at it. The PGA champion. I mean, you can't get much better.
We're on a Chicago show, and you're going to talk about the NBA and NHL playoffs?
Hey, I know we're on a Chicago show, but at the same time, there's a lot to watch. And
sometimes you don't bring things up that people want to be reminded of. Where are the Bulls and where are the Blackhawks? By the way, how about them Preds, baby?
I was actually going to say I like that hat. I don't know if that's a newer one or what, but I like Nashville's colors, and I like that hat a lot too.
Yeah, I like their Bart Simpson look when they're running around on the yellow jersey and the yellow pants, like they were last night. That was a fun game. I don't have much hope that they're going to win that series, but I was glad to see them get a W at home, at least make it somewhat of a series, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night. But yeah, NBA playoffs, I'm excited for the Phoenix Suns to beat LeBron and send his ass home.
Yes, I have money with the Suns. Let's go. I got my money on the Suns. I hate LeBron James.
Send that titty baby home. Let him go out and cry, and let him go out there and be on Twitter for the rest of the summer and complain. And we're gonna keep reminding you, Bronny, that championship last year. It's got an asterisk on it, buddy. I'm always gonna count that as a half a. Yeah. That's a half a win.
Hey, and
you won a tournament. You didn't win a championship.
Nope, and I completely agree. And since this is neighborhood playing, I brought in a little sports. I'll end it with a holy cow, Harry Carey style.
I'm gonna try to find something that's Chicago White Soxy that that I can put up here with this every week. But that's all I have right now. I got to find something that what would be really cool is to find like the Big Hurt little figurine. Or something.
Oh yeah, I think Christian actually has one of those. I'll ask him about it.
Well, tell him to start pimping it on the next show. Hopefully he will be back. We are out of here. We got to get going. Great job, Joey. We'll see Joey and Christian next week. For now on, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, every Saturday, the neighborhood play, White Sox and Cubs, here on the Armchair Quarterbacks Live.
Take me out to the bar.